Ubisoft, you got me worried. I understand you guys got a lot going on over there, and you're trying to get things figured out for one of gaming's most iconic franchises with Ghost Recon, but let's try and not mess this up. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, new internal reporting from Ubisoft and the team working on the next Ghost Recon just keeps getting worse. While initial reporting from the last few years was quite hopeful with a big return to tactical, military-focused gameplay set in South Asia from a first-person perspective, the last few reports coming out of Tom Henderson's Insider Gaming hints at some big problems between developers and the leadership I'll be talking about today. But guys, before we jump in, if you enjoy in-depth reviews and discussions about all things FPS, drop a like and hit subscribe, and let's talk about how Ubisoft is trying to fumble Ghost Recon. Taking a step back for anyone who hasn't seen my full recap of everything we know about the next Ghost Recon, here's a quick breakdown. The next installment in the franchise is codenamed Ghost Recon Project Over, a game that, like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and many others, is looking to return to its roots after Breakpoint didn't just destroy the franchise, but was the beginning of the end for Ubisoft as a whole. Breakpoint marked a tragic deviation from the franchise's tried-and-true formula and swapped tactical realism for looter-shooter mechanics as it chased games like Destiny. However, Project Over is looking to reverse all of that, dropping the looter-shooter mechanics and focusing heavily on tactical gameplay, realism, and strategy, with a large influence coming from Ready or Not. And in order to sell the grit of this new world set in South Asia during a fictional conflict, the game is reportedly being tested entirely in first person, which is a huge departure for modern fans and something I'm a little upset about, as Wildlands and Breakpoint's third-person perspective made the game stand out from the sea of generic military FPS. But with all that being said, that's where the good news ends. Because over the last few months, a couple big insider reports sound like Ubisoft is going full Ubisoft, replacing development time and talent with more suits and Chinese investors. Right off the bat, you need to understand Ubisoft is borderline dead after Breakpoint, Skull and Bones, and Hyperscape, bet you forgot that one.
The Hyperscape. In the Hyperscape, the biggest draw by far is Crown Rush. This is where anyone can become someone.
Ubisoft has been having fewer and fewer wins. At this rate, the company is being forced to shut down studios, fire entire departments, and cancel projects, thus Hyperscape.
That's what brings us to the edge of the future. To the Hyperscape.
The sad fact is, Ubisoft is just dog shit at game development these days. Dated concepts, delayed development, and stamped out franchises that continue getting worse. And ultimately, this has cost them dearly, as not just any investors, but Chinese tech giant Tencent has taken over 26% of the company, and as the value of the publisher continues to drop, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to buy the entire thing and just claim all the IPs for themselves. So Ghost Recon is under some huge pressure, thus development is getting hammered. According to reports from earlier this year, the game has been missing development milestones big time, failing internal tests, and not living up to the expectations management had for the project this far into development. It's not entirely clear what happened for the game to fail these checkpoints, but it is rumored that the project is just a technical mess with unstable and unplayable performance. Thus, after this apparently massive failure in front of leadership, Ubisoft stepped in and assigned extra management to oversee the project. Not extra developers, extra suits to walk around and set benchmarks. So as someone who works in creative services at a large company, I personally see this as Ubisoft sending in managers to find reasons why to shut down the project. I think they're having corporate come in, take notes, write down names, and come up with excuses to shut down the project and lay off staff. But that's just my pessimistic view, which brings us all the way to this summer, where back in June, another damning report dropped saying that the game had yet again missed targets, but is now being reduced in scope. According to Insider Gaming, who spoke to the devs on the project, there's no creative vision, constant leadership changes, and endless sweeping changes that were burdening the team with technical debt, all of which lines up with earlier reports. Thus, leadership is now trimming the scope of the game, reportedly removing features and mechanics as they try and just get this thing out the door. And all this comes off the heels of another Ghost Recon project being axed back in May, and the entire Red Storm studio of 105 people being fired on the spot after leadership lost faith in the project and instead started talking about, of course, investing in generative AI. Ultimately, after watching the downfall of Ubisoft over the past decade, the fact is everyone at corporate needs to be fired and the publisher needs to be sold to leadership that will allow games to be developed as actual games, not formulaic products. We've seen the Ubisoftification of so many franchises at the hands of this trash management, and it's clear they have zero new ideas outside of making every game an open-world fetch quest simulator, and they don't have the guts to let developers explore new ideas. Instead, they run around yelling buzzwords like generative AI as they fire the very people tasked with making their products to sell. I really hope Ghost Recon can beat the odds, but the fact is, Ubisoft needs to die. And just like games like Destiny, Halo, and Medal of Honor, the IP needs to be taken away from these morons and given to a publisher who actually gives a damn about making games, not just products. It just really blows my mind how badly Ubisoft has been able to fumble the bag, and now a game as iconic and honestly simplistic as Ghost Recon is being put on the chopping block, while Tencent might even be hoping they fail so their board members can continue to put pressure on the existing leadership. Project Over sounds great on paper, and like I said in my full breakdown, it's a very important franchise we need to mix up the shooter industry after the success of things like Ready or Not, while Battlefield and Call of Duty just melt into a single generic mess. So here's to hoping the team can battle through and save Project Over. But guys, let me know in the comments below what you think will happen next. And for everything else Battlefield and Ghost Recon, drop a like and hit subscribe. And as always, thank you guys for watching.